When it comes to finding a partner and building a family, one of the most important things you can do is get absolutely clear on what truly matters to you. And I don't mean creating a laundry list of superficial traits like height, job title, or even hobbies. I'm talking about the deeper values, the things that make a relationship not just exciting in the beginning, but strong and fulfilling over time. Too often, people confuse preferences with standards. Preferences are things you'd like. Maybe you imagine yourself with someone who's a certain height, has a particular career, or shares all your interests. But standards are the fundamental values that determine whether or not a relationship can thrive. Kindness, emotional intelligence, ambition, commitment, the ability to communicate. The problem is, if you hold on to preferences too tightly, you risk shutting yourself off from great connections. I've seen so many people overlook an amazing potential partner just because they weren't packaged in the exact way they had envisioned. Maybe they were a little shorter than expected. Maybe they didn't have the same career, but had incredible ambition. Maybe they weren't as outgoing as they thought they wanted, but had a depth and stability that could create a truly beautiful relationship. When you focus on the right things, you start to see people for who they really are, rather than how they fit into an image you've constructed in your mind. This isn't about lowering your standards. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about raising your standards in the areas that matter most. It's about being intentional with what you value in a relationship and making sure you're prioritizing the qualities that will make someone a great life partner, a great co-parent, and a great teammate for the long haul. A relationship isn't just about how you feel on a date. It's about how you both show up for each other when life gets hard, when things don't go to plan, when challenges arise that test your ability to stay connected and committed. Think about it this way. If you were hiring someone for a job that required long-term dedication, teamwork, and emotional maturity, would you choose someone just because they looked great on paper? Or would you be looking for the qualities that prove they can actually do the job? A relationship is no different. When you get clear on your non-negotiables, on the values and behaviors that are essential for the kind of love and family life you want to build, you stop wasting time on people who don't align with your vision. And more importantly, you stop being distracted by superficial qualities that won't actually determine your happiness in a relationship. So many people end up in relationships where they feel unfulfilled because they prioritize chemistry over compatibility. Chemistry is great, but it's not enough. Attraction can fade, excitement can come and go, but the way someone treats you, the way they handle conflict, the way they support your growth, those things determine the strength of your relationship. If you're looking for someone to build a future with, start by identifying what qualities will make that future stable, loving, and fulfilling. Ask yourself, does this person have the emotional intelligence to handle the ups and downs of a relationship? Do they communicate in a way that fosters understanding rather than resentment? Do they take responsibility for their actions, or do they blame others when things don't go their way? Are they willing to put in the work to make a relationship thrive, or do they expect love to be effortless? These are the questions that matter, and once you know your answers, you can be flexible on the rest. Be open to meeting people who might surprise you. Be willing to shift your expectations when someone shows up who aligns with your core values, even if they don't fit the exact picture you had in your head. Sometimes, the best relationships come from the people we least expected to fall for. And if you can let go of the unnecessary limitations you've placed on yourself, you open the door to something truly meaningful. The most important thing is to be honest with yourself, not about what you think you should want, not about what society tells you to want, but about what will genuinely make you happy in the long run. A lot of people get caught up in looking for the perfect partner instead of looking for the right partner. There is no perfect person. There is no one out there who will meet every single expectation you've ever had. But there are incredible people who, if given the chance, could be everything you actually need. Love is not about finding someone who checks off every box. It's about finding someone who makes the most important boxes obsolete. It's about building a connection so strong that the things you thought were essential suddenly don't matter because you've found something deeper, And when you shift your focus from finding the perfect package to finding the right foundation, you set yourself up for a love that isn't just exciting in the moment, but lasts a lifetime. The biggest mistake people make when they want something deeply is letting fear dictate their decisions. I get it. When you know in your heart that you want a family, that desire can feel urgent. Maybe you've spent years focusing on your career, or you've had relationships that didn't work out, and now you're looking at the clock, wondering how much time you have left to find the right person. And in that moment, the temptation is to lower your standards, to compromise in ways that don't serve you, just to secure the outcome you want. But that mindset will never lead to lasting happiness. The truth is, settling doesn't just mean ending up with the wrong person. It means betraying yourself in ways that can lead to years of regret. Think about this. When you make a decision out of fear, you're not choosing from a place of confidence or abundance. You're choosing from a place of scarcity. And any relationship that starts with that energy is built on shaky ground. I see it all the time. Someone meets a person who on paper seems like they fit the mold. They're stable. They say they want the same things, and maybe there's even some attraction. But deep down, you know something isn't right. Maybe you don't feel truly seen. Maybe the connection lacks depth. Maybe you can't even have the kind of conversations that light you up. And yet, you convince yourself that this is good enough because you don't want to start over, because you've already invested time, because the idea of being alone is scarier than the idea of staying with someone who doesn't truly fulfill you. But here's what no one tells you. Being with the wrong person doesn't make you feel less lonely. In fact, it can make you feel more alone than ever, because now, instead of being by yourself and working towards something real, you're stuck in a relationship where you feel unseen, unheard, and ultimately unfulfilled. And the worst part, that fear-based decision doesn't just affect you. If you want a family, it affects the children you bring into the world, the home you create, the kind of love and partnership you model for them. There, a relationship that starts from a place of urgency instead of true alignment will always show cracks. Those little things you ignored in the beginning, the lack of real emotional intimacy, the way you don't quite feel like yourself around them, the way they avoid deep conversations, those things will become the source of frustration, resentment, and heartbreak later on. And then what? Then you're years down the road realizing that the very thing you feared, being alone, was never the real issue. The real issue was not trusting yourself enough to wait for something real. So let's talk about what real trust looks like. Real trust means believing that if you stay true to your standards, if you refuse to settle for less than the connection you deserve, you will find the right person. It means understanding that while you don't have unlimited time, rushing into the wrong relationship isn't the answer. It means focusing less on the idea of a deadline and more on becoming the kind of person who attracts the right kind of partner. Because when you do that, you don't have to chase. You don't have to convince someone to be ready. You don't have to negotiate your own worth. The right person will show up and recognize your value because they'll be looking for the same depth, the same authenticity, the same lifelong connection. The key is to stop making decisions based on a timeline and start making them based on truth. The truth of what you need, the truth of how you feel in someone's presence, the truth of whether you're growing together or just occupying the same space. And sometimes that truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes it means walking away from something that feels safe but isn't right. Sometimes it means taking a hard look at yourself and asking whether you're showing up as the partner you want to attract. And yes, sometimes it means being patient when patience feels impossible. But what's the alternative? Rushing into something that leaves you feeling empty? Waking up years later, realizing that you chose comfort over true connection, that you chose a relationship status over real, deep love? The pain of waiting is nothing compared to the pain of waking up next to the wrong person for the rest of your life. And here's what's even more important to remember. The right relationship isn't just about finding someone who checks the right boxes. It's about finding someone who makes life feel richer, deeper, more meaningful. Someone who inspires you to be better, who challenges you in the best way, who makes you feel safe enough to be fully yourself. That's what a true partner is. That's what the foundation of a strong family is built on. Not just shared goals, but shared values. Not just attraction, but deep emotional intimacy. Not just the ability to build a life together, but the ability to truly love each other in a way that lasts. And you don't get that by rushing. You don't get that by compromising on what truly matters. You don't get that by letting fear push you into the arms of someone who isn't right for you. You get that by choosing yourself first, by building a life that's already fulfilling, by trusting that love isn't just about meeting the right person, it's about becoming the person who attracts the right kind of love. The relationship you want isn't just about finding someone, it's about making the right choice when they arrive. And that choice is only possible if you refuse to settle for anything less than what you truly deserve. As if you want to attract the right kind of relationship, the first place to start isn't outside of you, it's within you. Too many people focus on finding someone who meets their expectations, but they forget to ask themselves an important question. Am I the kind of person that the partner I want would want to be with? Because if you're looking for someone who is confident, kind, emotionally intelligent, and secure in themselves, it's only fair to ask if you are bringing those same qualities to the table. Attraction isn't just about what you want. It's about what you bring. And the truth is, confidence is magnetic. Self-respect is magnetic. When you live a life that excites you, when you pursue your passions, take care of yourself, and engage in experiences that bring you joy, you naturally become someone that others are drawn to. Too many people think they'll be happy when they find the right relationship. But the irony is, the more you cultivate your own happiness, the more attractive you become to the kind of partner who also has their life together. Now, this isn't about being perfect. This is about being real. When you're living in alignment with your values, when you take responsibility for your emotional well-being, you show up differently in relationships. You no longer approach dating from a place of scarcity, from this desperate feeling of, I need someone to complete me. Instead, you start looking at relationships from a place of abundance. I have an incredible life, and I'm looking for someone who adds to it, not someone to fill a void. This is the part where most people get it wrong. They think, well, once I'm in a great relationship, then I'll be happy. But happiness isn't something you get from another person. It's something you create. And when you live your life fully, when you invest in your passions, your friendships, your growth, that energy is contagious. You stop settling for mediocre connections. You stop chasing people who aren't meeting you halfway. You develop an inner confidence that allows you to walk away from things that don't serve you, because you know your worth isn't tied to whether someone chooses you or not. Think about it. When you meet someone who is passionate, who is excited about life, who brings their best to every day, you feel that energy, don't you? You want to be around them. You admire them. The same is true in reverse. The energy you bring to your life is the energy you attract. If you're walking around feeling bitter, discouraged, or hopeless about love, it's not that you won't find someone, but you may attract a person who mirrors those same feelings. That's why self-work is so critical. The more you take responsibility for your own happiness, the less you rely on a relationship to create it for you. And let's talk about standards. When you genuinely value yourself, you don't entertain relationships that drain you. You don't chase people who aren't showing up for you. You don't waste your time trying to prove your worth to someone who can't see it, because you know your value. And when you know your value, you naturally attract people who see it too. Not because you're demanding it, but because the way you carry yourself makes it clear. And that's not about arrogance. That's about self-respect. That's about walking into any situation knowing that you bring something incredible to the table, and that whoever you end up with should feel lucky to have you, just as you would feel lucky to have them. So if you're single and looking for a relationship, the best thing you can do isn't just to swipe on more dating apps or attend more events. It's to become the best version of yourself, not for someone else, but for you. Because when you do that, the right kind of person won't just be attracted to you, they'll be inspired by you. And when two people come together who are already full and whole on their own, that's where the most extraordinary relationships begin. A lot of people assume that love is something that just happens, that one day the right person will magically walk into their lives and everything will fall into place. But let's be honest, how often does that really happen? If you want to build a relationship that leads to the family you dream of, you have to start by putting yourself in the right environments. Think about it. If you wanted to get in shape, you wouldn't just sit at home waiting for fitness to happen to you. You'd go to the gym, hire a coach, start eating better, and surround yourself with people who support your goals. The same principle applies to dating. If you're serious about finding a partner who shares your vision for a family, you have to be intentional about where you spend your time and energy. Now, this doesn't mean going on a dating app binge or forcing yourself to attend social events you hate just because you think that's where you'll meet someone. It's about being strategic. You have to ask yourself, where are the kinds of people who value deep connection, commitment, and personal growth? Where do people go when they're not just looking for short-term fun, but actually want something meaningful? Let's be real. If you're spending most of your time in bars, where the majority of people are just looking for a casual night out, you're playing the game in the wrong place. That's like going fishing in a swimming pool and wondering why you're not catching anything. Instead, think about activities and spaces that naturally attract people who align with your values. If you value self-improvement and deep conversations, go to workshops, seminars, or book clubs where people actually engage on a meaningful level. If health and wellness matter to you, join a fitness community, a hiking group, or a yoga class where people prioritize a lifestyle that aligns with yours. If family is important, get involved in places where people who value relationships spend time, volunteering, networking events, even community gatherings where genuine conversations happen. And here's something people don't talk about enough. Expanding your social circle isn't just about directly meeting someone. It's about creating opportunities for connections to happen naturally. Some of the best relationships come from introductions through mutual friends. People who already understand your values and can connect you with someone who aligns with them. But if your social circle is limited or consists of the same people you've known for years, you're not giving yourself a chance to meet someone new. You have to be proactive in creating serendipity. Instead of waiting for fate to step in, start positioning yourself in places where you're surrounded by people who are also relationship-minded. And let's talk about how you show up in these spaces. Because being in the right environment isn't just about physically being there, it's about how you engage. You could be at the perfect event, sitting next to someone who could be an incredible match for you. But if your energy is closed off, if you're stuck in your phone, if you're waiting for someone else to make the first move, you're missing the opportunity. Presence matters. Being approachable matters. The way you carry yourself, the way you initiate conversations, the way you make others feel comfortable, it all plays a role in attracting the right kind of person into your life. And I get it. Putting yourself out there can feel uncomfortable. It's easier to stay in routines, to go to the same places, to spend time with the same people. But comfort zones don't lead to change. If you truly want to create a future with someone, you have to be willing to do things differently. You have to be willing to step into spaces that challenge you, that introduce you to new experiences, and that expand your world in ways you might not have expected. The truth is, you're not just looking for a partner. You're looking for someone who shares your vision for life. And the best way to find that person is to start living that vision now. If you want a relationship built on connection, build connections everywhere you go. If you want a family-oriented partner, show up in places where family values are nurtured. If you want someone who values growth, make sure you're growing too. When you start moving in the direction of the life you want, you naturally begin to attract people who are on the same path. That's how real connections are formed. That's how you stop leaving love up to chance and start creating the future you deserve. We all love that feeling in the beginning, the butterflies, the late night conversations, the excitement of meeting someone who makes your heart race. It's intoxicating. And for many, it's the thing that makes us believe this must be it. That chemistry, that instant connection feels like a sign. But here's the reality. Chemistry alone is not a predictor of long-term success. It's not the thing that will carry you through the tough times. It's not the glue that will hold you together when life gets complicated. What truly determines whether a relationship stands the test of time is not just how much you desire each other in the beginning, but how well you navigate life together when the initial spark settles into something deeper. Compatibility isn't just about what feels good now. It's about whether you and this person can build something sustainable, something real. And that requires looking beyond the surface and understanding what really matters. Think about it this way. If you're looking for a lifelong partner, someone to start a family with, someone to build a future with, you need to test for more than just attraction. You need to observe how they handle stress, how they communicate, how they treat the people around them. Do they take responsibility when they make mistakes? Do they listen when you express your needs? Do they shut down in conflict or work through challenges with you? These things don't show up in the honeymoon phase, but they will define the quality of your relationship for years to come. Too often, people mistake passion for compatibility. They think if we're this drawn to each other, then we must be meant to be. But passion doesn't equal partnership. You can have amazing chemistry with someone who is completely wrong for you. You can feel fireworks with someone who is emotionally unavailable, who doesn't share your vision for the future, who lacks the capacity to show up when it really counts. And the danger is, if you let chemistry blind you, you may ignore the red flags that tell you this isn't the right person for the life you want. So what should you be looking for instead? Pay attention to the things that truly impact your long-term happiness. Shared values, emotional intelligence, the ability to resolve conflict with respect, the way they support you in your ambitions, and the way you feel about yourself when you're around them. A great relationship isn't about finding someone who makes your heart race. It's about finding someone who makes your life better, someone who makes you feel safe, valued, and understood. And let's talk about one of the biggest traps people fall into. The idea that a relationship should always feel exciting. The belief that if things settle into routine, if the intensity dies down, something must be wrong. That's not true. Love isn't about maintaining a constant high. It's about deepening trust, creating emotional security, and building something meaningful together. The couples who last aren't the ones who never experience boredom. They're the ones who understand that love is a choice, a daily choice to show up, to invest, to nurture the relationship beyond the initial rush. Now, this doesn't mean chemistry doesn't matter. Of course, you should feel drawn to your partner, but it can't be the only thing you rely on. You need to ask yourself, can I build a life with this person? Do we share the same vision for our future? When conflict arises, do we work through it as a team? Because real love isn't about how good things feel when everything is easy. It's about how strong you are together when life throws challenges your way. So when you're dating, be mindful. Don't just chase the high of infatuation. Observe, test, take your time. Because the right person won't just make you feel amazing in the moment. They'll show you through their actions that they are the kind of person you can trust, rely on, and grow with for years to come. Too many people live as if their life is on pause, waiting for the right person to come along before they truly start living. And I get it. If you want a family, if you have a vision for your future that includes a partner, it's easy to feel like everything leading up to that is just filler. But that mindset, that's the very thing that keeps you stuck. The most attractive, high-value people, men and women, are the ones who are already living a life that excites them. They're not waiting for a relationship to give them purpose. They already have one. That's not to say love and connection aren't important. Of course they are. But if your entire identity is wrapped up in the idea of being someone's partner or future wife, you end up giving off an energy of need rather than confidence. And neediness is never attractive. Not because it's desperate, but because it signals that you see your life as incomplete without someone else. Think about the kind of partner you want. You probably want someone who is interesting, passionate, fulfilled, someone who has a life that you'd love to be a part of. Well, guess what? That's exactly what men want too. A person who has depth, who has something going for them, who wakes up every day with purpose and excitement. So if you're waiting for the right relationship to give your life meaning, you're already on the wrong track. And here's the irony. The more you invest in your own life, the more you naturally attract the kind of person who fits into it. Have you ever noticed how the people who are deeply engaged in something, whether it's their career, a passion project, their social life, always seem to have options? It's because they're magnetic. They don't have time to sit around obsessing over when they're going to meet someone. They're too busy making things happen. And that energy is intoxicating. It draws people in without even trying. Now, I'm not saying you should pretend you don't want a relationship. There's no shame in wanting love, wanting a partner, wanting a family. But there's a difference between wanting something and believing you are incomplete without it. When you believe that, you start making decisions based on fear rather than desire. You accept less than you deserve because you're afraid of being alone. You compromise on core values because you think time is running out. You cling to relationships that don't serve you just because they offer the illusion of security. That's not a life. That's survival. And you deserve so much more than that. Instead of waiting for someone to give your life meaning, create meaning for yourself. Build a career you love, cultivate friendships that bring you joy, travel, learn, grow, challenge yourself. Discover what makes you come alive, independent of any relationship. When you do this, a few things happen. First, you stop feeling like you're running out of time because you realize life is happening now, not in some distant future when you have a ring on your finger. Second, you become incredibly attractive, not because of how you look or what you say, but because of the energy you give off. Confidence, passion, purpose. And third, you actually increase your chances of finding the right relationship because you're operating from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. The truth is, the person who is truly ready for love is the one who doesn't need it to be happy. Love should be the icing on the cake, not the whole meal. If you're waiting for a relationship to complete you, you'll always feel like something is missing, even when you find one. But when you build a life that fulfills you on its own, the right person becomes a beautiful addition, not a necessity. So don't wait. Don't put your dreams on hold. Don't sit in the passenger seat of your own life, hoping that someday someone will come along and drive you to happiness. You are in control. You are capable. And the life you want, it starts with you.